on the News Channel 5 network. This is OpenLine.
Hello everyone, welcome to OpenLine. Tonight, I want to take a step back and look at the state of journalism. Certainly this is a time of great change, great divisiveness, great hostility in some cases. So I want to take a step back. Where are we in the state of media, the state of journalism? Happy to have with us MTSU Journalism professor, Dr. Larry Burriss. Thank you for being here.
Glad to be here.
Thank you for driving up as classes have just gotten underway.
Yes, I have. It's an exciting time.
At MTSU. All right, so there's so much going on. What do you tell your students today about the state of journalism?
What I usually try to tell them is whatever I tell you today is going to be wrong about 6 weeks from now. There's so many changes going on, which has led to some good things and some bad things as well. We can get into those. And in addition, some of the things that are going on now were going on back in the 1700s. There's still some things that are similar to what we were doing back then, but obviously the technology has changed, which has made for, again, some good things and some bad things.
I think that is important. I mean, I think there are people today who may think some of the partisanship and that kind of thing is totally new to our era.
No, it's not.
We've seen some of what we're seeing today before.
Yes.
But at the same time, we're seeing things we haven't seen before.
And the technology is what's making that a whole lot different. Anybody who wants to today can climb on the soapbox and have an audience. They were doing that back during the Revolutionary War, but obviously the technology wasn't there then. So it's been able to take the person on the soapbox can now have an international audience in a matter of minutes, which is a good thing. Everybody gets to talk. At the same time, there's a lot of wackos out there that have some sort of message. Should we stop that message? You know, we talk a lot about free speech, but then are there some messages that we need to control? I tend to say no. I tend to be a First Amendment fanatic and say let all the messages out there, and I believe that the good ones will drive out the bad ones. So let the wackos and the flakes and the hate mongers, let them have their speech, not action. Let them have their speech, and they'll eventually just be driven away.
There is more opportunity to get information now, as you said, than ever before. We're at a point where I think in some cases people are beginning to question facts, basic facts.
Yes.
We cannot agree on obvious, basic facts.
Sure, sure.
And if you want to dispute an obvious fact, you can find some source that will help you dispute that fact. And you live in this world where every fact meets your needs or desires.
Exactly, and part of that is both sides, right and left, liberal, conservative, Republicans, Democrats, are all spinning the news and information for their own positions. And so we could, well, an example of that is the Obama feeding the flood victim photograph that came out yesterday. There was a big to-do about that, but then somebody said, no, it was taken back in 2015. Okay, well then some stories I've heard was that the Democrats had put that picture out hoping nobody would notice it was 2015. We're going to advance for our president. Then I heard that the Republicans had put the picture out so they could criticize the Democrats for putting out a fake picture. Who knows?
Right.
Exactly. So trying to find out, you're absolutely right. There are some indisputable facts out there, but then we do little nuances, just kind of spin it a little bit to take out maybe a selection of the facts. And we parse words now like we weren't doing before. And again, I think the public many times gets real confused by that because there are people out there who will get on the soapbox for their own purposes, not for public enlightenment, but just to promote their own position.
So we've lived through times of hyper-partisanship before. Maybe we've always had that, with different media espousing different points of view.
Sure.
But this period we're in now where there's some question about basic facts, have we ever seen that before?
Not to that extent, and we've never seen the government, which is really scary. We've never seen the government as critical of the media. The government has always been critical. We can go back to Richard Nixon and Ron Ziegler and the fact that it's no longer operative. Okay, Spiro Agnew, the nadering nabobs of negativism, that's always been there, but now it seems like there's a lot more pressure at the highest levels, the president, criticizing, complaining, threatening, and that's just not good for the democracy. We need a media out there that is free to be really bad. They need to be able to do that in order to have an effective democracy. I don't want the government saying you're right or wrong and we're going to shut you down. And it seems like it's heading that direction.
I agree. I don't want the government to say, okay, this is a good media operation, this is a bad one, trust this one, don't trust that one. Even the person with the best of intentions, given that kind of power, is naturally going to fall short.
Sure.
It just can't be good. Yet, okay, Donald Trump, President Trump, last week called journalists liars and sick people. I really think they don't like our country. I really believe that. They are the enemy of the American people, he has said even before that, among the worst people I've ever met. What impact does that have?
It's eventually, if the president says it often enough, it's going to cause media operations to back off. They're going to start to feel threatened. And we've got the Federal Communications Commission, obviously has a lot of power. They can certainly threaten. There are all sorts of regulatory agencies affecting print media, the internet, and I think with the wrong appointees, they could do a whole lot of damage in the name of effective regulation. And again, we need to let the media be as good or as bad as they can be, and eventually I believe, and I try to impress on my students, that the good media will drive out the bad media. And
yet it is a very popular play with many politicians to attack the media.
Right.
Donald Trump has taken it to a new level. But if it could have that kind of detrimental impact, why is it so popular?
I think a lot of the public doesn't understand what we do. The media tend to be liberal, the media tend to be agents of change, and a lot of people are fearful of change. There's a new groundswell of Republicans and Trump supporters that tend to be, let's go back to the way things were. Let's just let the government do what it does, and they'll take care of us and just leave us alone. That's not how the democracy works, and the media point out those changes, and it gets very, very fearful. If we go back to the 60s, we saw the rise of women power and black power and environmental power, and I remember watching the news and my grandparents getting very upset. The media were very good at giving the news, but not explaining why. Here's the story about this group that feels disaffected, this group feels disaffected, this group is marching, which is anathema to our grandparents and parents for that matter. So the media are presenting these stories, but not really telling why this is happening, and is it really as bad as everybody as it seems to be on the screen. It wasn't, but again, that makes people fearful to see that kind of change when you can't explain it. It seems out of control.
Donald Trump has been saying fake news.
Right.
We had someone on, we had a lawmaker on the other night, and there was a story that had aired that he disagreed with. He called it fake news.
Right.
I mean, it filters down from the top to the bottom. So if there's ever a story that in any way someone finds objectionable, it is fake news. It is not that the facts are fake, it is that they find the content objectionable.
Right.
And all right, the media has always been criticized. It used to be, the buzzword used to be the liberal media.
Right.
Now they're fake news. You said the media often tends to be liberal. Is that true? I mean, because that's one of the big arguments here.
Sure.
Is that the media is biased and liberal and that kind of thing.
I think the media, as agents of change, as pointing out what is going on, I think that's kind of the classic definition of liberal. And those words, liberal and conservative, have really changed over the last 15 years or so. A liberal was someone who did not want government involvement. Well, now liberals tend to say we need help with this program and that program, so those definitions have changed as well, and trying to figure out what exactly is going on here. So we have a news story, and news stories tend to focus on bad things. I mean, that's what makes the news, and research after research after research has shown if Channel 5 does a series of stories on successful airplane landings at Metro Airport, your viewership is going to drop to about 0. So the public, they say they want all the good news. When it comes to it, do they really want that? And so we need to talk about, there was a bank robbery, and another bank robbery, another bank robbery. What's going on all these bank robberies?
Right.
Is there something wrong with the system?
Put some context to it.
Sure, exactly right.
And we fall short of that. You know, we can't just show murder after murder and not give more context.
Exactly.
That is overwhelming.
And that's a limit on the medium. You are business driven, and you've got so much time for programming, for news, and you've got to put those commercials in there. You don't have time to give all the news and still make a lot of money, and that's a problem. There's a group of people I call the bean counters. The accountants want to know if you have a bureau in Franklin, what kind of news do you have for us lately? Has that Franklin bureau, but then if something happens in Franklin, you need somebody there who knows the layout of the land, who knows the officials, who knows the schools. Unless you've got that person there, but they haven't given us a story in 6 weeks. We need to get rid of those. You do that on the international scale, and you lose all those bureaus all over the world that can give you the context. You send you have an event in Afghanistan, and you send an untrained reporter in there. He or she does not know the parties involved, does not know the language, does not know the customs, does not know how to get around. They're going to be lost. But we haven't gotten a story out of Afghanistan. May not have been a good example, but we haven't gotten a story out of this country in a long, long time. Why do we need a bureau there?
That's one of the pressures now. There's no doubt. There's the financial pressures, right. Huge pressure. And then, so for your students, before we go to break, your students, they're coming in, they want to do this as their career, and I think, on some level, not to be too dramatic, it can be a calling. I mean, I think it is a public service. It is a calling. It needs to be done with respect, and it needs to be done unbiasedly as you can. But they're seeing what's going on now. They're seeing the president say journalists are liars, sick people. They hate our country. They see the hostility toward this profession. Is it having an impact with the students you're seeing? Are they turning away? Does it fire them up?
We're getting more students in pretty much all the time. I mean, the programs are growing slowly, but growing. More and more people want to get into public relations.
Yeah.
Okay, that's still media, so we're doing, and there are also ethical concerns in public relations and advertising, another one of our programs, and news as well. So, and we're trying to teach our students, the president is saying this, but can we refute him? In fact, one of the projects I give to my honors class is to take these sorts of statements and prove or disprove them. Can you do both, in fact? Can you find information to support the president's position, and can you find information to refute the president's position? And I make them use what I term mainstream media, both liberal and conservative, so they have to use both CNN and Fox. They've got to look at them both so they can compare what those two are saying and see where the differences are. That's
interesting. All right, we're gonna take a break. And if you're on the line, Milton, Mac, others, hold on. If you want to call in, there's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Talking about the state of journalism, the state of the media today. Take a break. Be back right after this.